Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this wonderful talk that I'm going to share and a journey about what I'm doing. Um, so, my name is Vani, and I am the CEO and the creative director of a small boutique studio called Dancing Atoms. And I'm going to quickly go through my journey about how I got into all of this and where I come from and what I do. So I'm a writer, director, and a creator. And I love trekking. That's something that I've been doing for about 20 years. I go to the Himalayas every year with my little backpack. I love gardening. And that's my parents. And my father actually was a banker, and he wanted to make animated films way back in 1980s. And I remember growing up and thinking, what a crazy man. And this was him putting some of his work out there in Annecy, which is an amazing animation film festival in France. Eventually, as I grew up, I was very fortunate to be working in the visual effects industry. And I had met this amazing studio called Rhythm and Hues, who are an Academy Award winning studio. And over a dial up connection, I was hired to basically run Rhythm and Hues in India along with Prashant here. So it was a fantastic journey to set up Rhythm and Hues and foster a huge team of people, leading them creatively and helping set up studios. So being a chief operating officer to a CEO even back then, and working on about 40 plus tentpole productions, including Life of Pi, which we won an Academy Award for. Then I went to DreamWorks Animation, and they asked me to come to Shanghai, and I went to Shanghai and helped them nurture and champion Chinese stories to bring them all around the world. So that's a little bit about me, and I love making films, both live action, animation. Visual effects is super hard, but I started independently directing documentaries and short films and proof of concepts for live action films. While I was doing all of that, I've been nurturing this deep desire to write an animated feature film. And so it's Nilu, and I'll get into more details about how I'm using Unreal and how Unreal has basically changed my life in a big way, and you'll see it. These are some more projects that I'm writing. So this is how it all started. So basically, it all starts with this simple idea of how much we doubt ourselves on a daily basis. I was in Los Angeles doing my work very happily, and this amazing friend slash head of Unreal India basically calls me and says, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I was complaining to her about how there aren't many women, and COVID had happened, and how there are not many panels, even women are invited, and yada, yada, yada. And so she's like, "You know what? You're a woman. You should do this Unreal Fellowship." And I'm like, "What? No, I hate games. I hate everything to do with games or anything." She's like, "But you're a writer, creator, and a producer." She's like, all right, all right. And she convinced me. And so this was literally me becoming that. And I was like, I just couldn't believe that I was somehow bootstrapped into doing this program. And I would have told myself a gazillion amount of times that I cannot do this and that I didn't deserve it, because they had a $10,000 stipend that they were giving back then. And I was like, I do need the money, but I don't think I want to go through this humiliation. And so I came up with a gazillion amount of excuses back to Unreal, wrote back to them, and I said, I don't want to be here. You should get somebody else that's a visual effects person who really needs this. I'm not the right person to be doing this. And no, they said, it's you. You have to do this. So there was no way of transferring my fellowship to somebody else. So it was 100 of us on this Unreal Fellowship 3, and we were all on the Zoom call during the pandemic. And all I looked at was these amazing set of people, and they were so talented. And again, I told myself I don't deserve this. So the week one, what was asked out of us was, just come up with an idea that's 30 seconds long. That's all you need to do. So I called them and said, 30 seconds, that's it, right? Like, you don't want me to do anything more. They're like, no, just 30 seconds. is what you need to do through the training. I said, okay, great. My mom was calling me from India, and she was like, you're so lucky, you're actually getting paid to do this. Just shut up and do it, like don't overthink it. And so the orientation happened, and these are the mentors at Unreal during the fellowship, and everybody was so amazing, so amazing. Like everybody said, you can do it, you can totally do it. Of course, I said, okay, let me try. And so this was my bare minimum that I tried to do in Unreal. I said, okay, I'll just do this blob. I'll put 2 eyes, and then 2 eyes become 4 eyes, and maybe they'll just wobble around. And that was all the exploration that I wanted to do. Then I started doing a little bit more, saying, okay, what if like a person jumped from one ball to the other, like they were jumping in the space? What if they ran through the doors? So these were my initial sketches. And then during the week, I saw these other amazing people would put up in the scrums like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And then again, like they all look like these beautiful peacocks and flamingos while I looked like a chicken. And I was the imposter syndrome, whatever you want to call it, it all kicked in. The mentors kept saying, you can do it. So I kept writing. And it got so frustrating to me that I started rapping out of my frustration that they think it's easy, but it's not easy. And, and I didn't know what a teradg is or a 1080p is, all these technical terms that were jargons that were being thrown at me. So I ended up writing what I love writing is I ended up coming up with 5 different things that I can do and figure out what would work because I had never worked on Unreal before. And this was a chant that I absolutely love from India. It's in Sanskrit, and it's basically, lead me from darkness to light. And I was feeling like I was dying, so it was a perfect segue. As a writer-director, I'm easy with live action. Like I know exactly what I want, and so I said, okay, maybe I'm overthinking it. What if I just kind of applied this in Unreal and see where it'll take me? So I started pulling out all this amazing information that I wanted it to look like. And Pina Bosch, who's this amazing choreographer from Wuppertal, Germany, was someone who influenced me very deeply. And I loved what she brought to the screen in flesh. And I was like, hey, can I do something like this with Unreal inside? So I did this one simple graphic thing that I drew. Was this person that was being engulfed in this darkness, and somehow they had to take that stance to pull themselves out and do the dance. And so that was my first idea that I felt like, okay, dance and doubt and death and all the morbid things that were coming up. Some more. So they were teaching us all this. I'm not getting into the technical stuff, but this was the coolest thing that happened. Was the marketplace. I was like, oh, it's like going shopping. That is not so bad. And so it was like location scouting to going to a marketplace and kind of picking up what you wanted. And then my marketplace box, just my inbox became so much with all the great things that I wanted. And I was very happy. I did a small test here, which is how I wanted it to be, because I was like, I can do this like in a second, like put them wherever I want and still tell a story. And so now it was all about like, how can I play? So this was my first thing that I showed, and they all laughed at me. And so they started teaching us, and so all of this was just overwhelming. And this is my husband who got me an RTX 1080 back then, which I don't think is anything today, but I was like, okay. And then my brother sent me an iPad. And so I was now trying to figure out what I can do. So more tests. So this was what I had drawn earlier about a woman running through the doors. And I was like, okay, I can maybe. And this was the only character that was given to us way back then in our fellowship. They didn't give us any other characters, so we had to do it with Echo, and she couldn't move very well. So some more tests here. And then scrums happen. And then here was scrums is a weekly thing where you present to the 100 people cohort and say, this is what I'm going to be doing, humans. And so I had this woman, she's working hard, she's overwhelmed by the 100 people on the screen, she tries to run away, she runs and runs and runs, and then she finds peace, and she meets a rabbit and a butterfly on the way, and then she's back to her zen. And so this was a piece that I kind of imagined that I'll be able to pull off without having any experience in Unreal, of course. And I'm like, hey, what do you think? Isn't this cool, humans? And this is Sean Spitzer. You'll see him. He's probably given amazing talks. He was my mentor, and Sean's like going crazy. He's like, make it shorter, Vani. And this is Brian Pold. You know, does anybody know Brian? Brian is amazing. And he, of course, I never met him in person. It was all online. But he is really tall, and I'm really short. So, like, this was like when I met him, I realized I was really that tiny next to him. And Brian didn't say anything. He was like, hmm. Uh, and uh, and then again, I lost all like excitement. Like that was nothing. Like I didn't get anything. And then this Rebecca with her parrot saying, "You'll be fine." More stuff was being put on us. So much to learn, and I was drowning in my tears in week 3. And I had Shruti from India basically saying, like, "Hey, girl, you know, just you're gonna be victorious. Just don't overthink it." And I think like that kind of helped a little bit when you have someone who actually wants you to succeed. And I was like, she does want me to make this work, you know? And then of course I had so many other people saying that, but it's the one voice. And that's how I came up with the title for my project, which is Jeet, which literally translates to victory. So I started writing and rewriting again. And everybody was cheering for me. I was like, okay, this I can try this. And here came Mixamo into my life. And I was like, I'm not an animator. I'm a filmmaker. You know, I take a camera, I work with the crew. So I started playing with Mixamo and started doing this massive amount of like ideas and just literally screen grabbing and screen recording all the shots that I wanted for my video. And I was just putting them together and editing and editing and editing. And then I figured out, like, you know what? It's just simple filmmaking. It's no big deal. And then mocap tests happened. And the poor guy, I wanted him to do this yoga pose, you know, like kind of sitting in this Padmasan, and he couldn't. And I was like, oh, dang, it's important, you know? And he's like, this is all I can do, woman. I was like, okay. And so I just put together this idea of a dance thing. And while I was doing all of this, I was super in love with Unreal. And yeah, so the aha moment happened where I said, what if limitations are actually good? And so instead of saying, I cannot do with this, I want that, then I said, okay, let's try and figure out what to do. And just kind of started playing with the idea rather than worrying about what I cannot do, and just let me just play with what I have. So yeah, that's me. That's how I felt while I was doing this project. So collaboration, you know, as a filmmaker, it's all team effort. And you were sitting in your box and doing everything yourself. And I said, what if I just kind of reached out to other humans? Whale, of course, is something that I love. So I wanted to incorporate the whale. And thankfully, there was something in the marketplace. So I said, that's what I want. I want this woman rapping. And that's when the idea came, which I had written this rap earlier, making fun of Unreal. Now I said, okay, I'm going to try and do this Sanskrit chant rap. So I started looking online for this rapper that I wanted to work with. And my producer back in India and here said, I can maybe talk to the rapper that you want. I was like, are you kidding me? She's like super popular. She's like, no, we'll try and get you the rapper you want. And so I ended up with this amazing rapper who's like super famous in India. And I kind of pitched her this idea and she's like, I'll do it for you. And she said, I'll do it for you for free. And I was like, what? And then she's like, will you give me credit on your video? I'm like, it's going to look like crap. And she's like, don't worry. I love it already. So we started like writing together and creating a rap song. And I put it all together and Sean is like, it's week 4 and next week you have to submit your project. And he was like, you got to make it shorter, girl. And then same thing, Brian had no expression, but after 5 minutes of a pause, he goes, it's too long, Bonnie. And I was like, this is 2020, I can't believe. And then right around the time the elections and all that stuff were going on, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And this is how it looked for a student doing a fellowship to create everything. So we were, what's it going to play?
One in the way, well, maybe. Nothing feels real to me anymore lately. Nothing feels real to me anymore lately. I just want to.
So we had to put this face link to try and get the echo to do it. So there we go. A little bit of movement on the face back then. So now I was very happy that I was now in control of what I wanted in terms of color, the positioning, and started rewriting and, kind of storyboarding a little bit. And this was the image that I wanted. This woman, super happy, jumping planets. So again, I was scared if I'll pull it off, but I got this beautiful thing in the marketplace. It did everything that I wanted for me for the music video. So I put it all together and started testing, playing, and then this is how it kind of worked out. So it was 6 minutes long. And I had to produce 30 seconds. So now I was like, okay, I think I need to edit this whole thing together. And so I edited it. I'll play a bite.
Asatoma Satagamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Prityorma Mridangamaya Prityorma Mridangamaya
दास्तां ये आसान लगे ज़्यादा ये फासला अब ना मुझे हारना दे दूँ खुद का साथ हाँ सब कुछ मुझे जानना सब कुछ है पहचानना दिल का जो भी मामला उसको है सुलझाना
था डर उसे मिटा दिया अब बढ़ने की सिर्फ एक चाहत अब जैसे जीतने की आदत आसमां में उड़ने की ख्वाहिश देख कैसे चल दूं मैं आगे मुझे देख के दुनिया भी भागे सपनों से भर दूं मैं आंखें खुल के ही कर लूं मैं बातें story of my life I decide who I'm gonna be I took control over my mind now I'm feeling free all the anxiety and fears yeah they're clearing up gave me the strength to realize now I know what's up जीत से कर लूं मैं हासिल जीत से कर लूं मैं हासिल जीत से कर लूं मैं हासिल जीत से कर लूं मैं हासिल
So yes, I mean, you do what you're given and you have fun doing it. And I think that's where the magic kind of happened, is that in that click of a minute that, you have fantastic family supporting you. You've got the entire Unreal that wants you to succeed. And it was, like I stopped comparing and saying, you know what, it's cool. This is me. This is where I am. And I did it. And then while I was pitching, we were presenting, I think out of the 100 films, only 5 films or 20 films were to be shown. And so mine got selected. And then I got so much attention for doing what I did. And they invited me to become a mentor. So I became a mentor for another 100-odd films being done in Unreal during the fellowship. And I would always tell them, like, you're going to feel like shit, but you're going to feel better in just a couple of weeks. So don't overthink about anything and just do this. And I had a blast learning so much from everybody. So while I was doing this whole journey of doubting and dancing, I decided that in the mentorship, in the fellowship, sorry, there were hardly any women. And I said, what? This is not acceptable. Like, I'm having so much fun, and I'm sure there's so many more women out there that I know personally from WES and so many other great institutions. And I said, I should totally bring them. So I wrote to Unreal a program called the Women Creators Program. And I said, you have to give me the permission to do this program and do it for women, by women, including education and training. So I'm not getting into details, but basically I became the program partner for Epic Games and designed this entire program from scratch and brought in, we had about 200 people that submitted for the Women Creators Program in 2021, and then I shortlisted about 25 of them. And so Epic gave them some money to stipend to finish the program. Epic gave the training for 5 weeks, and it was phenomenal. We brought in all women mentors to kind of mentor this program, and there were some men in there as well. And you can please scan the QR code or whatever, but you will see all these beautiful films that were made by these amazing women that are super creative. Some were just housewives that had come in. Some were people that came in as producers who had never touched the computers. So it was phenomenal to see that fire, that spark was in everybody to create. And I was like, this Unreal is a creator's dream. You just have to give it to them. And I believe personally that talent is universal. So it was fantastic. While I was doing all the mentorship programs with Epic Games, the fellowships, Karen DeFilo, who is an Academy Award-winning producer, she was working with Epic on writing an Unreal program with Tribeca. And they were like, Vani, you're going to be my right-hand person. I was like, what? No. And she's like, no, you are totally going to help me make this program with Tribeca. And I was like, oh my God. And so this was taking everything to another level, which was 10 people. It was $1 million in giving that Tribeca would give them. It was crazy. So that was another 8 weeks online. Everything happened online. And for the first time after COVID, we actually met in person and went to Tribeca. And these were the 10 filmmakers that were selected by Karen and Tribeca. And I was basically producing all of it along with Karen, and it was just brilliant. And so they're the filmmakers over there working one-on-one with the mentors to try and get their dreams come true for their feature films. So we had a blast. And then I continued pushing. So the first Women Creators Program was something that they wanted to try me out and said, okay, you do India because you're from India. I was like, okay, I can do India if you want me to limit to India. So I did India first. And then the batch 2, we did Southeast Asia. So now we expanded bigger to about 10 other, parts of the world. And so again, it was great. It was just so amazing, the amount of energy that Epic put in saying this needs to be successful so we can continue to do more like this. And all these women, I mean, I wish they were all here, but they were so thankful to go through this program. Yeah. Let me see if that plays. Sorry, there's no sound on this, but this is something that they all created within 5 weeks of training. It was beautiful. Everybody was writing their stories, and they had a vision of what they wanted to do. So this is the Women Creators Program, 2 films. Please scan them. If you ever want to get in touch with any one of them, I'm happy to introduce you to them for their projects. You want me to go back? And then while I was doing that, I was so free in my life that I ended up taking the ICVFX training and did a in-camera training, in-camera visual effects, in-camera training with the ICVFX Fellowship, and we did a little short. This was a screen, and we had to write improv on there in 2 hours. We had to tell a story about a thief that would take away my bag, and this was it. So this is what we ended up. Ended up directing in 2 hours. Yeah, and so after doing all this stuff, there was this idea that I said, hey, UEFN, this was last year, and I said, why don't we do like a program with UEFN for women? And so that journey came up, 2023, 6 months of planning, trying to understand what's happening in the gaming side of things, all the disparity. And so thankfully we had AWS, Green Rain, Women in Games, of course, Unreal Engine and Dancing Atoms, all of us partnered together and said, all right, let's make this program happen. But this was the magic that happened. We decided to make it big, like really big, and not 25 people, but 100 people in 19 countries. So we picked people from 19 different countries. It was an online program. And it was fantastic. Now, it was exactly my vision of being stuck with 100 people. Now I wanted to express that and said, okay, let's do 100 women. And I wasn't sure what the dynamics were going to be if they were all women and like how competitive they would be. Will they get along with each other? And so we produced 15 games in 5 weeks. Like they all wrote from scratch a concept about game. So the way that was all designed by me to say like, all right, we can do this. I'm not a gamer myself, but I learned a lot and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it took a lot of feedback and information when I went to the GDC and stuff like that. So they all said this is what needs to be done. So we created 15 game ideas within UEFN with whatever basic stuff that they could do. And it was spectacular. Like they were all so thrilled. And this is Shruti. Do you know Shruti? Okay, cool.
Shruti, and it's been a pleasure working with Vani and the SIFA team in bringing out the program, the Women Creators Program, into life. And we look forward to more events and more initiatives together to work on.
This is Quentin.
I think you started very well, Vani. We have this wonderful program in California called the Unreal Fellowship, which aims at training people on the dramatic change that real-time rendering is bringing to many industries, but the movie industry, animation industry in particular. The new collaboration it allows, etc. And while I'm looking to lead animators and lead VFX directors and supervisors in India, it very quickly became clear to Shruti and I that this was a very one gender set of professions, and we searched a lot and we finally found Vani, a leader in the field and somebody that shared our passion for changing that landscape. And so, once Vani had gone through the program, we thought, how do we impact this in India? And how do we really change the landscape? It's going to be a long thing, but what are the options?
So, anyway, Quentin was very, very instrumental in making this happen along with Shruti. I think it was Unreal's decision to push this, and this was at IGDC in India. We had several talks. Oops. There you go. So yeah, Green Rain, that's here in one of the talks. I think they were doing some talks. They did all the training for us, and so they were fantastic. Finally, we all met, like in Hyderabad last year in 2023, a few of us that were there in India, we all gathered. These are all the names of the wonderful women. And so what am I doing? After all of this with Unreal, while I was doing these training programs on the side, my joy is about telling stories and bringing some fantastic stories to the world. And so I got selected into the Unreal Shots program. I had written a short film, and they loved this one. It's called Be True, Be You, and it's been selected actually at the Seattle Tasveer Film Festival. Just a few days ago, we got news that it's been selected, and so I'm super, super happy. But it's yeah, it's in 2 weeks from now, I think. So I went through this entire training again in terms of how to make a short film. Now I was being trained, so I was like, yes, hands-on again. And I started again with storyboarding the idea, putting it all together, doing some really sweet character design about what the film is about. It's actually in India, we have this whole thing about choosing the man that you like, and the girl gets the option to pick the person that she likes. In old and traditional times, I kind of use that as a part of the storytelling, but in a VR world. Like now she has a VR headset and she can select her suitor. And that was my concept. And so these were the 2D character designs being developed into 3D. I love color. I think color is a very important thing in my storytelling. So I love doodling and working with my team to get the best color scripts that I need and block out all my scenes. And so this was getting so beautiful within Unreal. We were trying to do everything within Unreal as much as possible. And I think we did well. We didn't win the money, but there was someone else who won out of the 10 people, somebody else did. But this is the final render that we got out.
Challenge accepted. Ready for the reveal? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so it was, and the best part was the competition, the shots program. We had to finish the entire film in 8 weeks. So from story, which was written earlier, the screenplay was about 6 pages long. So from that point, once they selected us, the training began, and then we had to submit everything within 8 weeks, and super happy. So I'm currently working in this year on another short film using Unreal again, about this 3-minute short film about a mother and a son. And the son has to leave to go back to look for work in the world, and the mother is going to be left home with her calf, which is Lakshmi. And so these were some references that we pulled out, did some storyboarding, and this is the color script that I'm hoping that I'm able to get this very painterly feel into my film. Not what I did with the previous film, which was very, it was cute, but I'm trying to get this painterly feel and kind of exploring how I can do that within Unreal. This is the amazing team I'm working online with. And so it's getting there, but it's not there yet in that texture that I'm waiting for. Yeah. So while I'm doing all of this, I got invited by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry of India, and I'm now running this 1.8 billion people in our country. So we're running this massive national competition for storytellers. And I just can't believe that our prime minister actually tweeted and our company was mentioned. So it's like, it just like, this just happened like a week ago. So thought I should add it into the slide. So please, if you know any good storytellers, please scan the QR code and please let them know that they should submit and do that. So it's called the Animation Filmmakers Competition, and with the help of Dancing Atoms. So this is a big deal for us that we're able to, with one small step of training, to get to this massive amount of training and educating people to write stories in real time. Another good news is that one of my preschool shows just got selected at the Asian Animation Summit. Here is an animated feature film that I'd shown earlier called Nilu, which I'm trying to get it done inside of Unreal. And we did some tests here. I want it to look like that very Miyazaki 2D style, and even more visceral, I would say. So we did some tests using some AI pipelines and stuff like that. But these are all models that we created, but like trying to do, like, how would they move? What would happen? How would they look like? So that's basically what we're kind of working on right now at Dancing Atoms using the Unreal pipeline. And I know I want to be on time. So more material for us to look at for the project. So this has been a new development. I wouldn't say new development, but when I wrote the Be True film, the short film, it was really a game. But I have no gaming experience, or I had no gaming experience. So I was too shy to touch the game side of things and to write the narrative in game. So I came up with this very sweet idea that when two people meet or date, they're absolutely awkward in connecting with each other, and we build these forts around us. You know, we try to put the best foot forward, and we want to just not be vulnerable because we don't want to get hurt. Like, this was something that happened in my life. So I was like, okay, how do I take that inspiration and create a game about how people meet? And wrote this simple idea called how you connect with another person in a game through dance. And dance is, again, something that's been a theme in my life, because I feel like when you dance, you're free and you're not judging the other person, and you're not waiting to be judged because you're just letting loose, you're just having fun. So these were some elements that we started drawing and saying, what if the people actually, through dance, built forts, or through dance, kind of broke the fort down so they could meet each other? So it's in development. Some basic mechanics are, am I okay on time? I think I'm running out of time, but yeah, so it's basically a very simple mechanic of how they would, like, if it's a single player versus what. But I'm trying to get this to be done inside of UEFN. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. It's been a journey, and I'm super excited to be here, and I'm excited to continue and share whatever I'm doing with the rest of the world. Thank you.